All right, this is a VSL script breakdown of the ProDentim offer. So this is an multi-8-figure offer, affiliate offer with a big VSL, about 40 minutes long, running on ClickBank. Made a ton of money, works super well. It's a crazy script. It follows a similar structure to multiple of the best affiliate offers in the world. So in this video, I break down piece by piece the script, why it works, how it works, what they're doing, what the tactics are, what the structure is. And this will help you, one, understand VSLs a lot better, write your own, and just become a much better marketer overall. So enjoy. And putting you at risk. So there's the open loop, right? There's something you're doing every day that's causing the whole problem. And they're obviously not going to tell you yet what it is, but it's going to keep you hooked. So this whole lead is very effective at driving engagement and attention and curiosity. Now we're going to agitate the pain, right? We talk about the throbbing pain, inflammation, infections, allergies, clogs, sinusitis, headaches, gut issues. So first the pain and then the benefits, right? It's always a roller coaster. So you want to transition between the emotions very quickly. So the big problem and the big benefits, once you find out what it is, you'll be able to start rebuilding your gums and teeth, stop the bleeding and the itching, forget about bad breath, cavities, yellow teeth, and you'll be able to breathe better, clear your throat. So this is a Gundry style, they do the same thing where they give you all the problems and then very quickly all the benefits. And this keeps the viewer off balance, so they can't really, get into their head about it, and they're just in the flow of the VSL. And then this is also the typical VSL style for ClickBank affiliate offers, super curiosity-based, intriguing lead or a nightmare story lead. Why that flies in the face of common advice, remember, that's what makes the doubt go to the side. And then we have the pain, the problem, and then the benefits, and then testimonials, very short testimonials. This is what also helps to put doubt aside. You see, it worked for other people. And the testimonials are always structured very similarly. I've taken good care of my teeth. I did all the right things, and I always had the problem. Now it feels like I've got a new set of teeth. Thank you, Dr. Drew. I'm not in pain. Pretty cool. What he told me to do seemed absolutely crazy, building up more curiosity. I was desperate, so I thought I'll give it a try. And I can't believe how well it worked. The results were great, no more problem, and thank God, no more bad breath. I've been suffering. So it's the same thing. Again, all of these affiliate VSLs have the same lead structure. And now this is where the body begins. So anything above this, they've tested many variations of it. The hook, the lead, the scenes, the script, the wording has been tested very thoroughly before they even get this out to the affiliates. And then the body usually stays the same. So again, it's an expert authority figure hero's journey. So it's Dr. Drew Sutton is the main character. And this is a really good way to start your VSL body. Let's address the elephant in the room. Let's address the whatever it is. Let's address something that, it's unique and it's an open loop. And then he just goes against the other solutions. Again, this is a very effective thing that I advocate for in Ecom VSLs, is go against the common solutions, because that's how you open the door to belief. Because everyone knows the common solutions and they don't work, right? They still have the problem. And that's what allows us to introduce the problem mechanism with belief. They're going to accept it. You put your hope in supplements, etc. 10%, and then this is a unique information that really seals it up. For example, up to 10% of dental implants fall in the first 3 years. Biological complications over a 10-year period can be as high as 69%. So information is always good if you can add in numbers in a simple way. Don't overdo this, but this really ties that together. And then relate it all to me. Again, very effective. This is another thing you'll see often in the Gundry VSLs. They'll give you the problem in an abstract way. This is what happens in the body when XYZ, and then they relate it to you. If you're like most people I work with, you already know these so-called solutions are a never-ending subscription to the dentist chair that leaves you in pain. Now there's something that's never seen before, right? This is where we bring it all down, right? There's all the problems, we relate it to them, and now we're going to open it up. I want to be extremely clear. What I'm talking about here is unlike anything you've ever seen or heard of before. That's a line that you'll see in all the ClickBank VSLs. It's unlike anything you've ever seen or heard of before. It's not based on alternative treatments or positive thinking. It's based on real solid science. Then we're going to open a loop about the mechanism. It'll remineralize and feed your gums with oxygen, backed by tens of clinical trials. This is, again, important when you're making big claims and a lot of curiosity. Bring in some proof. They're talking about Harvard, different universities, clinical trials. All of these things are helping to ease the doubt, because you don't need them to believe you blank check right now. You just need the mind to be open to it, because a lot of this is subconscious. So as long as they're open to it, that's what the proof is for, the testimonials, the going against the common solutions. It's so that you're open to something new, not that you'll immediately believe it. That comes later. And then, they recapture the attention. It's very important that you pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Keeps the engagement going. I don't recommend doing this in short VSLs. I think it really breaks up the flow when you say keep going, keep watching, because in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to explain XYZ. I'm sure you guys have all seen that. I've found in my test that it doesn't work as well for a 5 or 6 or 7 minute VSL, but in these long ones, it really helps to retain attention, especially in the beginning where attention drops off. Again, we relate to the pain. Remember, the beginning of the VSL is where you want to paint the picture of, you're going from point A to point B, right? From big problem to the dream outcome. You have to really explain to them and make clear and vivid what the problem is and make it real for them. They need to experience that and be aware of that right now, or else they're not going to want to solve it. That's why it keeps reiterating the pain. As a doctor, I've seen firsthand how debilitating and painful it can be, how it can drag you into a pit of despair and embarrassment and isolate you from your dear ones. Again, emphasizing the emotional side of the pain. So it's not just debilitating and painful, it's also embarrassing. You go into despair and you're isolated. So it's the emotional, real life consequences of the problem. And then, look, it's always the same thing. It's a psychological tactic, right? You bring them into the pain and then you give them hope. I'm happy you've chosen, because this will transform you. So we're talking about despair and debilitation and isolation, and then there's hope. No matter how long you've been dealing with the problem, this is also very important, and you'll see in all the VSLs. No matter how long you've been dealing with it, no matter how serious it is, no matter your condition, there's a simple solution. So it's pretty much saying, come one, come all. Like, no matter what your problem is, how long you've been dealing with it, this applies to you. That's very important, because one of the biggest things that cause drop off in the VSLs and throughout our funnels is when people don't have a clear answer to, does this apply to me? This kind of statement makes it very clear it does apply to you, right? No matter your condition, your age, your gender, what kind of the severity your problem is, it does apply to you. So this is what keeps people hooked, and it makes them relate to it on a personal level, because it's about them. But make that clear. And I do this in my VSLs. And then huge benefits, right? So problem, hope, and then benefits. That's the roller coaster, especially in the intro and in the lead. They're emphasizing the problem, physical and emotional, but wait, there's hope, there's something you've never tried before, and then the benefits. And over time, these waves will just open up the doorway to belief, emphasize the problem and make it real, and create desire for the solution. This is very important. So powerful, and I'm convinced it will change your life forever. So just as bad as the problem is, right? As much as we emphasize the problem, that's how much we're going to emphasize the solution, if not more. It's going to change your life forever. And just imagine, also, this is very common, no more inflamed bleeding gums, no more blood taste, etc., no more pain, bad breath, all of this stuff. And it's, when it says just imagine, it makes it personal. Never having to cover your mouth or feel embarrassed, right? That's a very relatable thing that you would get from doing research from people's own words. Never having to see your friends take a step back when you talk to them. Never having to see your spouse turn their heads away when you want to kiss or hug them. You can become one of those people with rock solid confidence. So this is very powerful. I mean, imagine you're someone with this issue and he can speak to you, to your biggest emotional pain points. This brings you in and gets you to build desire like nothing else. And never set foot in a dental office again. And now we get into a little bit more of the actual VSL story. So until now, we've been priming them emotionally with the problem, the benefits, etc. That's all, to be clear, the reason we do that, the reason we emphasize the problem and the solution, etc., is so they can accept the problem mechanism, the solution mechanism, and ultimately the product as the thing that's going to take them from point A to point B. But you can't do that without the emotional side. I mean, it's very difficult. Once you see the groundbreaking science behind this inexpensive solution, I'm sure that you'll be excited to give it a try. And again, this is an open loop. In the next 5 minutes, I'll reveal, this groundbreaking solution. Why our ancestors, despite never brushing their teeth, never going to the dentist, had better teeth than ours. Most people in dentistry actually consider it to be the best thing ever invented for at-home morning test to rapidly check it. Oh yeah, he's good. So this is another thing that you'll see in all the ClickBank VSLs. It's some simple, at-home test that you can do to see if you have the problem. They do this for like the fungus one. They do this for the blood pressure, for all diabetes. It's a simple at-home test that you can do in a few seconds to see if this is the root cause of your problem. This is just another open loop. And to find out if it's responsible for your clogged sinuses, etc. And this is also very common, and I do this in my VSLs. Tests have shown that this destroyer is present in 98% of overweight people. So you can say that, imply that the problem mechanism is found in 98% of the people suffering. And I will let you know the scientifically proven melting candy remedy that could erase years of damage done to your oral cavity. Again, this is an important tactic. I'm going to keep pointing them out because they're very effective and you can use a lot of these. I use a lot of these. Notice what he's doing here. He's not saying I'm going to reveal the melting candy product solution, whatever it is. It's a remedy. It's a ritual. It's a method. This is what takes down skepticism, because the viewer wants to believe that this is just a simple remedy or method or home ritual. So this makes it a lot easier to accept and takes away the skepticism. Because if he had said here, I'm going to reveal the new supplement that's taking the world by storm, you can already, if you're a copywriter, you can feel that like this is not the right place to even say the word supplement or product or solution. This is where you say remedy, etc. And then we do the expert credibility. This is who I am. 30 years of experience, board certified. He was a surgeon. So he's the real deal. Right? And if you have an authority figure who has this kind of credentials, you definitely want to say it. Now, one mistake people make is that they do this too early. They think because you have an authority figure and it's so good, I should put it at the front of the VSL. No, because first comes the flow and the structure, and then comes the content. Meaning, if this doesn't fit into the flow, if you're trying to emphasize the problem and solution, and then you just throw in an expert credibility in the middle of that, it doesn't flow and it interrupts what we're trying to do psychologically. So this comes later, once we've already done that emotional roller coaster. And now there's a conspiracy story. There's an exciting little story. People looked at me, they saw one thing, I was really another. So they looked at me and they saw a successful doctor, and then everything came tumbling down. Because I learned, this is a common one for anything health related, what I was taught in medical school only treated the symptoms without getting to the root cause. That's a very effective and relatable thing. People were just bodies, the pain was just an indicator, and they were forgotten the minute they went out of the doctor's door. My frustration grew by the day, especially when I saw some of my colleagues blindly prescribing the same chemical medications, etc. So it's, he's disillusioned by the institution that he works for. And then he starts to look to other avenues, plants, herbs, organic ingredients. And since then, I've been able to help thousands of people around the world. So that's like a summary of kind of a hero's journey, right? He's unsatisfied. He sees something is wrong. He leaves, everything comes tumbling down, and then he comes back to help people with a new solution. Case study. Yeah, okay. So this is also a very common tactic for these affiliate VSLs. The hero, the doctor, will come and will help someone, a case study, whose situation is like yours, but worse. So it's like the viewers, but worse, always slightly worse. And that just shows if he can do it, I can do it. So giving a little backstory of this guy. And then he had gum disease, right? He had the worst form of gum disease I'd ever seen. His breath was so bad, I had to keep the windows open long before he was gone. Wow. His wife had been kissing only his forehead for the past 2 years. So it's really emphasizing the problem here. Wow. And then, so this guy's suffering is a horrible problem. They really emphasize it because remember, the viewer can relate to this. Even if they don't have this exact problem, most likely they have a lesser situation, a lesser version. They can still relate to it. And this is like their biggest fear, right? This is describing, he's afraid of dying of a heart attack. He's afraid of choking to death in his sleep. This is their biggest fear come to life in another person. So they're on the edge of their seat. They're watching closely now. And then our expert comes in to solve the problem. He tried just about everything. What else could I do? I had no clue. But I was determined to not be the next doctor to leave him disappointed. I spent night after night, typical hero story. I was in my lab at night studying, trying to find a solution, and then I stumbled upon the answer. It's always like that. During one of our consultations, Sam wanted to show me. There's a picture from a newspaper. This is where he finds out the thing in the lead, which is 2,500-year-old skull. They have perfect teeth. Those bastards didn't even know what a toothbrush is. And suddenly it hit him. So it comes spontaneously. The discovery comes spontaneously after we're in this dark tunnel where he can't find a solution. I had a hunch I was onto something. He finds mind-blowing information. Something is making our teeth more frail than ever. What is it? Little known study. Right? It's all obscure and kind of vague, and there's a lot of curiosity and interest in this. So this is important. You've probably been told that bad bacteria is to blame. And you need to take antibiotics, go through annoying disinfection. But I took a closer look. Scientists realized that bad bacteria is not the real root cause, right? So this is effective. Again, this is a more aware market, so they're going a lot deeper on this, but they'll give you one, the old problem mechanism, and they'll say it's not the real root cause. Now we're going to go into the actual root cause. We've opened that door. When there are too few good bacteria, so this is the whole premise of the VSL. Gum disease and other dental disorders happen not when there are bad bacteria, that's the old problem mechanism, when there's too few good bacteria, that's the new problem mechanism. You probably know about the gut flora, gut microbiome. You also have it in your mouth. So this is very effective because the comparison, right? Everyone knows the gut microbiome, and then you just take that and you put it onto the mouth, right? There's also a mouth microbiome, and that's actually the root cause. So you compare your problem mechanism to another one that they can understand. And then it's just kind of explaining this with a metaphor. It's like the police and the thugs. The big fight, germ theory versus terrain theory. Okay, so this is the whole premise. If there's enough good bacteria, the body will naturally take care of the problem. This is a very effective way to frame the process. It'll be dealt with by the body naturally. So it's like, this is what it's saying. If the body has the tools it needs, it can solve your problem naturally. So what's the issue here? It's that there's one thing missing that your body, if only your body had it, it would solve your problem. But because you're missing it, you have all these terrible problems. This is one of my favorite ways to do the problem mechanism because people intuitively know that the body works well. So if you're in health, and this can work for anything, but specifically for health, you take the premise that the body is naturally balanced, and if there's something wrong, it's because it's missing something. So the problem mechanism is that you're missing something, in this case, good bacteria. The solution mechanism is to supplement that good bacteria, get the body back to its balance, and it will solve your problem, it will disappear. And that's very easy to believe for people. And this is all just continuing to explain and emphasize and simplify and restate in different ways the problem mechanism, because this is important, right? People will buy because of this explanation of the problem mechanism. Your whole body mirrors what's happening in your mouth. This is how they extend the problem. So it's not just in your mouth, it's going to go to the rest of your body. And a great metaphor, imagine your front door is open and dirty. All of the dirt will eventually end up in your living room, and it will soon have all sorts of things growing in it. So this is a very good metaphor for simplifying it, right? Because they're giving all kinds of numbers here, 140 billion per day. They're talking about the scientific basis for it, and then he turns it into a very simple metaphor. This is what I love to do as well. If you're going to do the in-depth informational explanation, especially if it's a more aware market, make sure you pause every few paragraphs and you restate everything as a simple metaphor and relate it back to the viewer. And then, okay, so we've explained the problem mechanism. Now we're going to tie that into why nothing else works. Let's say so. Then now he's going to go against the most common solutions, right? This is the time to do it. This part of the VSL either comes before the problem mechanism or after. In this case, they do both. Right? They do a little bit before, where they say toothpaste, dental clinics, none of this stuff works, but they don't explain why. That comes when the problem mechanism is explained. So look, now what he's going to go into the toothpaste. So let's take toothpaste. The toothpaste doesn't work. They're trying to remove grime with the same bleach that removes stains off your t-shirts. So toothpaste, artificial sweeteners, mouthwash, etc. So it's going to explain why the other solutions don't work. So now what does that do for the viewer? You're left with nothing, right? You're kind of walking in the darkness, and you're just taking this guy's word for it, because you know the problem, you know how it works, you accept it, you believe it, you want the solution, but all the solutions that you would think can help you don't. He discounts all of them. So now you know what the problem is, but you don't know what the solution is. So you have no choice but to wait for him to give you the solution. And the mind will naturally be waiting for that. So what can you do, right? This is what I'm talking about. We get to this point. So what can you do? Do you stop washing your teeth? This is where we've eliminated all of their outs. So they're just stuck with, what do I do? And if they're here at this point in the VSL, that means that they are ready for this section, which is they believe the mechanism, they're interested in the solution, but they don't know what to do. This is a very important turning point. And it's really just emphasizing the fact that you're kind of hopeless until you get the solution. If you use natural toothpaste, the bacteria are still incredibly weakened and need time to recover. Grinding or clenching puts enormous pressure on the teeth. It's really emphasizing the problem, and this is emphasizing the fact that you're in a dark tunnel and you're just waiting for that light to come. So a quick tip or question to deal with the root problem. Before telling you the only method that can rebuild the mouth microbiome, here's a quick tip. So the open loops in this VSL are crazy. They're going to keep you watching for sure. Chew sugar-free gum. Gives you a little tip. And that closes a loop that was open previously. If you have digestive issues, etc., etc. Again, emphasizing the problem. Imagine the chemicals viciously corroding your teeth, burning your gums, destroying every strain of bacteria. Visualizing the problem. Jesus Christ, crawl up your nose, down your throat. It's really digging the knife. And now we get to the solution. So you see how much buildup there is. This is what it takes to sell to completely cold traffic in such a aware market. There's a lot of tactics and buildup that have gone into this just to get to the solution, right? In our e-commerce VSLs, we'd be at this point, like in a 5-minute VSL, we'd be 3 minutes in. In this case, we're already like 30 minutes in. You need to repopulate your mouth with good bacteria and create a healthy environment for the thousands of diverse healing strains to grow. You'll breathe better, you know, all the benefits. You'll be cleared of cavities, your teeth will become wider. And now we're going to overcome the alternative solution. So here's the premise, the principle, the theory of the solution. And then immediately the mind will go, okay, so does that mean I can take probiotics? Not all probiotics are the same. Not all of them are good for all diseases. You can't take the same pill for a toothache, and bad digestion. What you find on the market is designed for the gut. You need a completely different strain, so it discounts that one. To sell more probiotics, they add as many strains as possible without making sure if they interact well with one another. That's another issue. You know, if they're not compatible, they can cancel each other out. With newfound knowledge, so this is the whole premise is that, so here's the principle of the solution, right? So the problem mechanism is you don't have enough XYZ. The solution is to reintroduce XYZ so your body can be ready to deal with the problem. But all the solutions out there don't work. So what does that leave us? The hero has to go and do it himself. I had to create, I hadn't gone far enough. Or I hadn't gone so far just to stop. I realized the only way I'd know for sure that there's an oral bacteria strain that works as powerfully as all the studies indicate was for me to be the first one to create it. Very effective way to introduce the solution, the story of the solution. And then it's talking about, this is again, Gundry loves to do this. It's not selling you on the solution yet because it hasn't been introduced. It's telling you what the solution ideally should do, which has the same effect at creating desire. Because it's like a benefit, but without the doubt and skepticism that come from selling your product. The formula had to reintroduce this. It had to fix your rebalance your bacteria, stop the growth of viruses, help the mouth produce more saliva. Teeth and gums are the perfect environment to start healing themselves. Remember, that's the whole premise here. Once XYZ happens, in this case, once the microbiome is restored, they start to heal themselves. So I gathered a team, the Avengers are assembled, medical researchers, chemists, and they're gonna figure out the most powerful solution in the world. So they're testing, they're coming up with breakthroughs. And we found a solution. And this is always what they do in these supplement VSLs. They don't just come in with the solution itself, the product. They say we found a combination of ingredients that work. Okay, so think about what we're doing here. He says, I had to make the solution myself. It gives some benefits, what it should do in an ideal world. We created something, here are the ingredients. And then after we've sold them on all the ingredients, then we're gonna introduce the product. And then this just goes through, and then under the guise of explaining the ingredients, what they're really gonna do is give you the benefits and the promises of each one. But your skepticism is put aside because you think you're just gonna learn about what the ingredients do. It puts out inflammation, it stops the damage, it produces molecules that inhibit the production of bad bacteria. This is a great way to sneak in a lot of your benefits and your proof elements, is when you're explaining the ingredients or what makes up the solution. I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's just explaining each ingredient and giving it a benefit that applies directly to the prospect. And now we package it into a product. That's when we decided this should come in a unique candy that softly melts in your mouth. So in an e-commerce product, right, you'd explain all the different mechanisms of your product, or if there's one main one, you'd explain how it works. And then you would explain how you would take that mechanism and put it into a product. So you don't sell them on the product first. You sell them on the benefits of red light therapy and, heat massage, deep tissue, whatever. And then once they're sold on the benefits of that, then you package it into a product. Because remember, the second you introduce the product, you better make sure that they have accepted the benefits, they want the solution, they trust you, they have enough proof. If you do it too early, then there's a bunch of skepticism that's going to follow them throughout the rest of the VSL. So they made the first batch. I saw the light in the end of the tunnel. First case study explodes. We received calls that this miracle worker was making teeth look whiter, etc., etc. He was breathing freer. And now the product is introduced. If you can see my little scroll bar, we're on page 21 of 30. So we're 66% of the way through the VSL. Now the product is introduced. We called our advanced soft probiotic candies ProDentim, the 100% natural doctor-formulated health supplement. So that addresses the real root cause of gum disease, cavities, and tooth decay. And this is like a summarized pitch: what it is, what it does, and how to use it. Let one tablet melt in your mouth and let the science do the rest. That's always how these products are framed. You take it and it does the work for you. What's in it? Simple, it explains what's inside. Social proof and testimonials. A lot of proof. It's non-GMO. This is where it's made, 150,000 people. This is where we give the proof, because we just introduced the product, which is a big tension point for skepticism. So we need a lot of social proof, a lot of, social proof is the main thing at this point in the VSL, because we've already done the studies, the trials. Now we need to show that other people are doing it. So ready to try it? Here's how. Now we get into the CTA and the close. So let's just go over the main elements of the close, because this is not super unique. Let's see how you can get ProDentim today. We refuse to cut any corners, yada, yada. Price anchor. This is always how it works. We were told to sell it at, $300, $500, $700. Far from me to put a price on your health. So he's on your side. So he's going to do you a favor. Instead of selling you this thing for $700, he's going to drop the price. The retail value should be $175. So from 700 down to 175. This is a steal considering yada yada. But my goal is to give it to as many people as possible. You don't need to invest 170, not even 150, not even 120. So we're dropping it more. I just want to cover the cost of the ingredients and keep the site running as long as possible. I'll have to charge $99 for one bottle soon. But today you can get a 30-day supply for just $69. So if we had just thrown it out at $69, you're getting a 1-month supply, right? You're getting probably 30 little gummies for $70. That's a huge price. And if you guys are in supplements, you know how hard it is to make $70 for one bottle work. But in this case, they do a huge price drop, which helps to frame that price as very attractive, especially in the moment. And then you get a discount on the 3 and 6 month packages. And then they're really pushing for the AOV, right? We have multiple paragraphs here. You know, I would take it for at least 60 days. And he's telling you all the reasons with a little bit of fear, right? If you don't take it for more than 60 days, you won't notice the benefits and all the progress might be reversed. All the bacteria might come back. And then we future pace the benefits. This helps them visualize it and build more desire. Your progress improves exponentially every day. It would be a shame to be so close to never having to deal with tooth decay and gum bleeding again, just to notice you're out of ProDentim. So again, pushing for the AOV. Bonus, if you get the 3 or 6 month supply, you'll get 2 bonus guides worth $109. And 4 household ingredients that clear out these sores overnight. Another bonus, Hollywood white teeth at home. Special bottling keeps it fresh for 2 years. Now we address skepticism. If you're skeptical, we totally understand. You've tried a lot of methods. You know, this is just where you affirm what they're probably feeling. You affirm, I get it. If you're skeptical, I understand, I get it. You don't fight them on it. You don't say you shouldn't be skeptical. You say, I understand why you're skeptical. You've tried all the other methods. You've spent a lot of money, time, etc. But I'm confident it'll work. And so how do we address the skepticism? With our guarantee. We have 60 days to get your money back. If you don't experience a dramatic improvement, we'll promptly issue you a full refund. So here's what to do next. You order today, they run you through it, right? Let's just see how they do that. It's a one-time payment, no subscription or hidden charges. Choose the package you want. Click on the package, you'll be taken to a checkout page. Fill in your payment details. We'll send your order in a discreet package for maximum privacy. It's in high demand, so don't delay. Explaining exactly how to order it. And then we have the scarcity. They're released to our contract manufacturer. We don't receive the batch in the warehouse until the formula passes all tests. If you don't try it today, I can't promise it will be available later. Very effective. And that's another reason to buy the multi-bottle packages. Another emphasis of the guarantee, and then the crossroads close. If you're still thinking about it, take a second and imagine what awaits you. If you don't choose it, you're going to spend more time and money. You're going to spend weeks or months, and your gums and teeth are just getting worse and worse. Maybe you believe the problem will go away by itself. Remember, we're taking away all their outs. I've never seen such a case. Actually, the opposite. If it goes untreated, it dissolves faster. Or you can risk nothing and try ProDentim right now. Again, talking about 3 or 6 bottles. And then that's pretty much it. And then they have their FAQs. Just to re-emphasize all of that. Well, so that's this VSL. ProDentim VSL, Monster VSL. This script is in. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, that's great. Leave a comment if you have any questions or if you have other VSLs you want me to review. I love doing these VSL reviews. And I do a lot of them inside of my community, the private school community, where I share a lot more resources, a lot more tactics and strategies that I personally use. So if you want to join that, it's in the description below, so check it out. Peace.